Hello, Integrating the Spirals participants. My name is Sheila Murray, and this is session 3. Let's start with a moment of breath work. In through the nose. Hold for a moment. And either out through the nose or out through the mouth, as you prefer. The key point here is to keep it slow and low, and so it's barely heard, that out breath. Three cleansing breaths put us in our state to begin to receive. Thank you so much for joining. I know most of the folks who are joining are coming from my WordPress blogging community, so I welcome you. I also have folks joining from Dr. Bruce Lipton's community, and I'm so appreciative of you and welcome you as well. Also, I have some friends from Facebook that have never even read my blogs. So they're coming into these courses with perhaps a beginner's mind or at a beginner's level. But I actually felt like this course would be for folks who have already been on somewhat of a spiritual journey or have done shadow work, are interested in shamanism and that type of thing, where you may have come from a faith, maybe you are disinterested or disillusioned with it, or you are feeling that there's more and you want to just continue to grow. It's not that we want to necessarily throw religion out, but I see religion more as a guide or guideposts or training wheels. And we just don't need those anymore once we get to a certain state of progression on our spiritual journey, on our spiral path, I like to call it. And so as we grow our soul, which is what we're doing here, and we're expanding our consciousness, we're allowing more. We're just allowing it in. We can observe, we can allow, but we don't have to absorb. That's where our decision-making process comes in. That's where discernment comes in. That's where go where you're celebrated comes in. Not just where you're tolerated, and certainly not to put yourself in harm's way or be somewhere with people that are not helping you grow. Maybe they're helping you because of the negativity, and it's helping you to make the better feeling thought, the better feeling choice. One time I worked for someone whom, very good person, all the best intentions, I'm sure, but drove me nuts. And so I said then, thank you for helping me make a better choice. It took me a year to leave that position and have another position open up for me somewhere else. And it took a little bit of negotiating with myself to get over myself enough to take the other position, because it involved more driving. It involved a complete change of daily tasks, and even how I self-motivated and encouraged myself to go and learn and do and embrace a whole new philosophy. And that was fine, and it worked out beautifully. But in the moment of making the change, I did what a lot of people do. I had self-doubt. And did I make the right choice? But I kept going back to thank you for helping me make a better choice, because I knew that that was the right thing for me to do. I knew that staying where I was just tolerated, and actually I was appreciated there, but I couldn't see it at the time. The day that I left my boss, he hugged me 3 times. he just kept saying thank you to me, and he would miss me and this kind of thing. And I made some lifetime friends who have stuck with me from that particular job, even until this day. So I am very grateful, and I look back with humility and gratitude, so much gratitude. But at that time, in that moment, I just couldn't see it, because all I was getting was a lot of negativity and a lot of pressure to perform, a lot of pressure to do certain things, cover 3 people's jobs. And it was very stressful to me. So now I realize, with the wisdom that I have, and the wisdom from age as well, and working other jobs since, I have learned that the stress actually comes from, and I know some of you are going to know the answer to this already before I say it. The stress comes from my perception of what's coming in, what's being requested or asked or demanded of me that I don't want to do. So it's that push-pull, and it's almost like an argument. In programming computer languages, we call things an argument, because we're presenting something and then making that request and wanting to pull data out of the system or request the system do something. So it's called an argument. And when I look at it that way and I take the emotion out of it, it's so much easier to see and to process and realize that all of life is that way. It's the argument or the contrast between the light, the dark, the light shining, or the shadow that we cast, right? It's the different frequency. It's the different weight of it, if it's a lighter as in lightweight, or heavier as in weighing us down. You're so heavy, man, it's such a drag, right? I'm having to drag my energy, right? But when I'm full of passion and I love something, like I love this, I love speaking with you all, I could do it all day long, and the time would go really fast. I'd be in the zone, right? I'd be in the flow. I would be enjoying the creative process that we're having. And that's really the difference between what's a negative stressor coming in and weighing on us, versus we're just in the flow and we're doing it because we love it and we're passionate about it and it's easy. It's still technically a stress on our body, just to put our body through the motions, but we don't perceive it as stress anymore because it's a passion. Does that make sense? All right. Well, let me know in the comments. And please do give me feedback on the courses. I'm continuing to improve this course and building some new courses as well for the future. And I'm also writing another book. So, I've got to fill my days with something other than the day job, right? And at some point, I will retire from my career, from the day job. And so enough about that. Another deep breath, a round of EFT to release, reset, center, ground. Even though it takes me a while sometimes to process these lessons from the past and pat myself on the back for the wisdom that I've gained over the years, or that I'm continuing to gain in this moment, I deeply and completely love and accept myself. Even though sometimes I'm not sure, I overthink, I have doubts, I deeply and completely love and accept myself. Even though I may get ahead of myself sometimes and even feel like I'm overselling, I want to do it so much because I really want to teach and share and give and help others perhaps avoid some of the pitfalls that I have. I deeply and completely love and accept myself. I so appreciate the challenge. I see the stress. I sometimes feel the stress. I get caught up in the stress, the overthinking. But now, when I catch myself in the moment of the overthinking, in the moment of the oversharing, in the moment of the spiral thoughts, in the moment of the shiny object syndrome, in the moment of feeling that I might be overselling or oversharing, in the moment that I have self-doubts, I catch myself. I take a breath. I practice my breath work. I applaud myself for staying on my integrating the spirals path. And I'll seal that in. Thank you. Thank you to me. Thank you to you. Thank you for working this process with me to release the negative downward spiral and embrace the uplifting, the integrating, upward forward motion spiral. All right, let's dive in to this session. I'll share my screen. Where we left off last time, we were talking about directions, elements, and time. And in this context, I'm speaking about time as seasons of the year. So with the East, I associate the air, the mind, and the fall time of the year. What three things do you associate with the East? People you've known, places you've been, homes where you've lived, schools you've attended. It could be anything. What three ways can you connect with air? Breath work, like we just did, the oxygen, the unseen, viruses, certainly been at the top of a lot of our minds the last 2 or 3 years, right? A lot of people didn't even think about the unseen in performing their day-to-day activities, going to work, school, jobs, raising a family, driving, just didn't even think about it. But that threat of that virus made everybody appreciate, or maybe not appreciate, but actually be in fear about, oh my gosh, what's unseen out there that could be bombarding me, right? So we're connecting with air in every moment, air moving in, air moving around us, air enveloping us, air coming out of us. And the air is a transport mechanism to get water into our body. With that, because I'm paying attention and I'm aware, I will have a drink of water. And I invite you to do the same. Obviously, you're just watching, so you can drink whenever you like. But with that, I'm bringing in air, I'm bringing in oxygen, and even in the water, when we drink, we're bringing in air and oxygen and these chemical elements that are unseen in our environment. That they be good or not so good in the way of toxins. So do you tend to overthink or get caught up in a tangle of thoughts? I call that having a spiral thought. I tend to want to spiral off, go on a tangent. How frustrated do you get on average? Again, I was relating that story about my perceived stress and how, I still recognize that it was creating an action, that was creating something to happen and change to occur in my life, but I wasn't always happy about it. So do you get frustrated daily, like I was back then? weekly, like probably I do now, or monthly. And I'm looking forward to that at some point. Just take a little frustration, please, just enough to kick me in the ass and get me to do something, make that better choice. I think that all through life, we make the better choice, a better feeling thought. We reach for it, we desire it, but we just sometimes don't have any idea what it is or should be even. So thoughts are as light as a feather. I mean, they're just one thought. And that's why when we meditate, we put the thoughts on a fluffy cloud and just let it pass through. So we can unattach from them as a falling leaf drops from a tree. We can choose to let any seemingly heavy thoughts go when they arise. Well, how do we do that? Why are we doing that? Because we're a powerful creator. All of us are. Thoughts become things, so create wisely. Well, we don't always create wisely when we really don't have a lot of experience to back up our choices, to make those choices from, right? But the more information we have, the more opportunity to pull and make a choice from a different subset of information. With every new book we buy and read, with every new movie that we stream and watch, with every new interaction, a new person we encounter, someone comes to your door, knocks on your door, that's a moment, brand new moment for you to learn something from that person or teach them something or help them, right? Just to have that kindness in your life, in your day, that very day. So with that, I have a teaching tool that I love right here next to me. I keep it beside of me all day, every day, because as I'm working my day job, even things will come up and I will look over at the mirror ball. I don't necessarily pick it up or spin it, but I've done this and shared this enough, this teaching, that as soon as I see it, it will just snap me right back into some of the points that I'm going to make here. So if you're on one side, and I like to pretend sometimes that I'm just one of these little panes of mirror glass. I'm just one of those. And the person that I'm speaking with that I may be having a disagreement with, or we just aren't even thinking about something in the same way. We have different perspectives because we think differently, right? So I picture that I'm here and that they're over here. And there's no way for me to think or view their perspective because I'm over here and they're over here. We are on opposite sides. We used to say it this way too, we're not firing on all 6 cylinders or 8 cylinders or 4 cylinders, whatever it is in your mind that keeps a car running smoothly. So if someone's on 4 cylinders and I'm on 6, or they're on 8 and I'm on 4, I mean, you can see already we're going to have a mismatch in our conversation and our thinking and how we're approaching a problem to solve. So I keep this handy because I can immediately check myself. Am I going a 360 degree, which is full circle, or am I just 180 degrees apart from this other? So you will never see my perspective or understand my experience because I'm here, right? And you could be any one of these other tiny pieces of mirror, but you'll never have every view of life. You'll never look at life through my lens because you've not had the same experiences I've had, the same education, the same life experience and choices, the same family, the same dynamics. So how could you ever see life the same way that I do, right? And obviously vice versa. I cannot see it from your perspective. So we're all one of these mirror pieces, and we reflect what's shined on us. So whatever's been shining my way as this little piece of mirror, whatever's come into me, that's what I'm reflecting out. Of course, I have the ability to change what I'm putting out, because I have my decision-making process. I have my discernment, right? If somebody spews hate at me, I can choose in that moment not to reflect that back to them, not to spew the hate back. If I get the finger or whatever, right? I can choose, and I don't have to absorb it either, right? I'm only becoming aware. I'm only receiving the information in, but I have that powerful choice to not absorb it. So I hear it, I recognize it, I see it for what it is. Maybe it's a test, maybe it's just they're having a bad day, they're in pain, whatever. It doesn't even matter, right? But I can choose what I'm going to allow and what I'm going to absorb, and I can choose to walk away, drive away, whatever. So even the broken, fragmented pieces reflect. So if I'm in pain and I'm broken and I am who I am and I have all of this knowledge that I have from living a life, right? And somebody does something to me or says something to me, I may not react the same way today that I would have reacted yesterday. I may not react at all, or I may react or reflect in a way that is kinder or is meaner, based upon what's happening with me now. I mean, here's a quick example. If I just stubbed my toe and I'm in pain and somebody came by me and smiled and said a joke, I may not be in a joking mood, and I may spew something or spout something back to them that's not so nice, not so kind. But 99% of the time, that same activity happened and someone walked by and smiled at me and made a joke, I'd laugh. I might laugh hysterically. I might bend over laughing. It might make my day. So how are they to know whether I just stubbed my toe or not? So to everything, turn, turn, turn. And that's what the mirror ball always reminds me of. Considering all perspectives, but know that you cannot fully fathom them all. I can't possibly know. Maybe I'm coming from like this clump of perspective, right? But I can't possibly know all of the rest. And that's where all of these others are. So consider all the perspectives, but know that you can't fully fathom them all. And that at the end of the day, yes, sometimes the truth does hurt. In fact, I find often the truth hurts because we're not ready for the truth yet. And then everything resolves to gratitude, because if you fast forward to the end of your life, when you're laying on your deathbed and you think the thought, why, what was this life about? Am I happy with my life, that I've lived? Did I live a full life? And if the answer is yes, and if the thought ever occurs to you that you would meet your creator and say thank you, and that's all, that's the only, in fact, I've heard it said, and I've said it many times, the best prayer we can utter is thank you. If you see yourself saying that, then that's what I mean by everything resolves to gratitude. All the hurt, the bullshit, the pain, the angst, the anxiety, everything you've been through in your life, all the crappy stuff. But then you've had these moments where they're glints of bliss and happiness and joy and profound transcendence. I mean, you met the love of your life. You lived years with the love of your life. You had a baby. You've had grandchildren. Whatever your experience have been, the experiences that have been the most profound and blissful for you, it makes all the other stuff worth it, right? because you've had those moments. And I think everybody that's been alive on the earth has had that at some point, even if they're doing something that everybody else would perceive of as ridiculous or nuts or crazy, but they had it. So how can we judge that, right? As you peer into the kaleidoscope, and we talked about this last time, and we can do the same with the mirror ball, note the myriad perspectives available, the fractals involved, and in the patterns that are created. And when, because you will, you cannot help to do so, when you move it the slightest bit, the light hits the items within it. And this going back to the kaleidoscope, you'll see the different colors and patterns, see the big picture. And that's the way of the kaleidoscope, and also the way of the mirror ball, because when you look at the mirror ball, you can see all those fractals in there when you turn it. When you turn it. This is also the way of interconnectedness of the universe, because if this were the universe, it's all moving, it's all spinning, everything's a vortex in space, everything has motion to it, different speeds, different amounts of light, higher, lower bands on the frequency range or scale. But when you continue to gaze at the images from the same kaleidoscope or same mirror ball, and I haven't moved it into a different room of the house or anything, so it's still reflecting the same stuff, right? But as I turn it, even the slightest bit, I see different images, different amounts of light and dark. It's the same tool, has all the same components within it, but we change the way we look through the kaleidoscope or look to the mirror ball. We have a different outcome. Find the gift then. That's the challenge. In every experience, if each one of these are a person or an experience, find the gift there. Find it in every turn of the kaleidoscope of your life. Find it in every piece of glass on the mirror ball. I hope this helps to lighten your day today and always, and you step a bit lighter on the earth. I love you. You are enough. And you are worthy of love. This brings me to the topic of the other directions, right? Because we've spoken about the north, south, east, and west, but there's an in. There's an in, just like with the in breath, and there's a through, just like the pores of your skin and things that are small enough fit through the pores of your skin. There's an around, just like we did with the mirror ball. There's the 360, so there's all around us. There's what's on top and what's below you, right? Soul and spirit. This is what I consider to represent soul and spirit. So what three things do you associate with whatever is in you? What makes you you? What's in there? Blood, organs, toxins, food, water. What three things do you associate with whatever flows through you? We've talked a lot about the breath, so air, water, again, toxins, because if you're taking that in with your food or your water, then you want it to flow out as well too. So what's flowing through you? Thoughts, good thoughts, wonderful thoughts. And if it's a bad thought, let it go. Again, it's light as a feather, let it go. That bad thought, that negative thought doesn't weigh anymore in reality than the good or the positive, but you can choose to let it go. How do you feel your soul? I feel mine with God bumps that I've talked about before, feel it when I'm dancing, feel it when I'm singing, feel that vibration when I'm singing in my throat, my vocal cords. But what lights you up? What gets your soul pumping? Does music and movement like dancing help you connect to your soul? Where is your soul? How do you perceive your soul? What do you think it is? What 3 methods can inspire you to connect with your soul? And how would you know you're connected? Would you feel it, or would you simply have a knowing, feeling like just in your head, in your mental processes, that you just know it, or even throughout your body? Some people feel things heavy, like on their shoulders, carrying the world on their shoulders, heavy of heart, tummy aches, feel it in their tummy, their stomach, their gut, their abdomen, however you want to say that. The ego, soul, and spirit. So where does our ego come from? Or does it even exist? A lot of people out there do not even recognize an ego. They don't think that it exists. They think it's just a psychological phenomenon or some theory. If ego doesn't exist, then where does judgment come from? How do we discern? How do we discern what's right and wrong? Maybe we weren't taught what's right from wrong. I knew someone once who told me she wasn't raised with rules. And it was such a foreign concept to me that the statement alone baffled me. I don't understand somebody who's not raised with rules. I guess I could sort of picture the child Tarzan or something being raised by monkeys or wolves, or if you were alone in the forest and as a child and had to survive, that would be one way I could see being raised without rules. But I was stunned. When have you been judged unfairly? Working moms all the time, especially back when I first started a career and I had young children. I was constantly judged by others about working, or working too much, or working not enough to provide for them. So not working, not showing up on time, appearance, cleanliness is a big one. How many people judge homeless people, won't even let them in their businesses because they smell, they look bad? To what standard are we judging these people? Language, that's also a big one too. A lot of people in America, if you don't speak the language, pretty much you're just cast aside. Nicest way I can say it. When have you judged others? You don't know them, and people only show us their best aspects when they want us to like them. I maintain that people can lie to you about their best aspects or hide their worst from you for the majority of a road trip together, or even up to a year. But I think pretty much beyond a year, it all falls apart. About a year, I think, is the time frame in my experience that I give it for other people to show their true colors. And usually they show it within that year, but especially when we love the person or we're in love, we don't want to see it. We make excuses for them, right? Or we show them grace. That's always a good one. Oh, they'll change. Yeah, right. Maybe. Might take longer than a year, though. Might have a tough row to hoe, we used to say where I'm from. If you're waiting for that, please don't try to change someone else. They will change when they want to change. It's the old, there's a psychology joke about that. How many psychiatrists does it take to change a light bulb? One, but the light bulb has to want to be changed, right? So people hurt people because they're stuck in trauma and pain. And I had that little story earlier about, if I stubbed my toe. Sometimes even the so-called best people, the Christian people, the highly religious people, they stub their toe and they're gonna say a curse word. Everybody's got their something that triggers them, right? To say the curse word, or to give someone the finger, or cut someone off in traffic, or whatever. Whatever your pet peeve is, there's a reason that someone will do that to you. And it may be a reason that you'll end up doing it to someone else at some point in your life. Just because you're not even thinking about it, you're just unaware in that moment, and you'll snap. And that's why I think moral ambiguities are so fascinating to me. I've always been fascinated by the moral ambiguities in life, because it doesn't matter how good of a person you are, and who's just, who judges that, right? But let's say you're a law-abiding citizen. We'll just use the law as the baseline here. And if you're a law-abiding citizen, you're a quote unquote good person, right? But you can still be triggered because, again, mirror ball, you're over here, they're over there, they do something to you, you reflect it back, not in the nicest of ways, or highest and best, right? It just depends on what's happening. And it depends on how awake and aware, tapped in, tuned in, turned on you are. Like, are you aware? Are you awake 24/7? No, everybody sleeps. Okay, so at what part of the day, what point in the day are you the most awake and aware? Tapped in, turned on, tuned in. You know what I'm saying? So if you're stuck in trauma or pain, or past or perceived in your present, you can lash out. It's just most of us that are awake and aware, we will apologize very quickly, unless, of course, it's, say, something going on in traffic. Well, you can't really, I've done this before, like, well, or sorry, and they might perceive this and that as something else, right? I've even done the hand wave, right? But they might just think I'm saying, move on, idiot, Oh, no, I'm just saying, I'm sorry, So mistakes happen. And I always, when I was a kid, I used to think about, wouldn't it be great if you had, I think I saw it in a movie, a James Bond or something, where they had a light on the back of the car, and they could type in words, get out of the way, or speed up or slow down, or whatever it was. And I just thought that'd be the neatest thing, to be able to communicate to people, aside from having hand gestures and waves and turn signals on a vehicle. I thought it'd be great to literally have a sign to be able to explain to people, the I'm sorry, or the, my wife's having a baby, or whatever it is, reason why you're doing whatever it is you're doing, speeding, or some such thing. So I thought that'd be neat. Still haven't seen that happen yet, but hey, I dreamed of cell phones that had video on them, and now we have that, and we have this with Zoom. So I've seen a lot of technology and a lot of changes in my life that I'm really happy about and excited about. And that would definitely be one of the things that I would say thank you to Creator for when I meet my maker on the other side, because it's definitely enhanced my life. Technology, I see a downside to it as well, but I like to appreciate the positives of it. So people seek connection. That's really my last point here, is that whether it's here in this physical temporal body and situation and plane of existence, or whether it's when we're beyond and we're continuing to communicate with the living physical beings on the planet. So here's a lesson for us. I call this, it's all inside. It's all an inside job. But here's the catch. Without sharing what you learn and experience, all those changes we make on ourselves is kind of like hoarding. Even meditation can be escapism. Gaming can be escapism. Watching TV. Include your loved ones in your personal growth. why else are you with them? Why are you here with them if you're not including them in your growth? So much of our day is busy work, but why are we busy? Is it just because we're caregivers, we're taking care of a loved one, or we're raising children, or we're helping a spouse, a partner start a business? Why are we busy? Take it easy. Be kind to yourself and your others. Don't force your newfound freedom on them. I mean, I feel much freer, especially after doing this kind of work and reminding myself of how wonderful this feeling is. But allow the changes you make to shine rather than burn others. I could walk around, be all self-righteous, like I got my shit together. I got it together, right? Well, how is that helpful? Because then it sort of puts other people down, like, oh, you think you're so much better than me? No. And I literally had a friend say that to me years ago because we had a falling out, and I just made the better choice at the time to leave the friendship and let it go. And that's been rare. It's usually been another person who's decided to leave the friendship. But in that case, I grew a pair, so to speak, and I left the friendship. I was not growing with that friendship, and it was really leading to me. That friendship was leading me to make some detrimental choices for myself. So I wasn't happy with the choices I was making for myself. I take full responsibility. You can call it being groomed, or you can call it being led down the primrose path, or whatever you want to call it. I could blame and I could use excuses, or I could empower myself and say, you know what, yes, I was led astray or tempted, but I always have the power to make a choice. And so I took that power and I left that friendship. And when I did, she said to me, oh, you think you're so much better than me. Well, for a sensitive person and an empath, no. No. I mean, I could have just said, well, yeah. I mean, it's kind of like if you call someone a name now, you could just turn that name around and say, you say that like it's a bad thing. I mean, you could make a joke out of it. You could make it lighter, right? But I didn't, and I really didn't know how to respond to that at the time, except to say, no, that's not what this is about. But what's the other thing that people do when they end relationships, right? Oh, it's not you, it's me. Yeah, it was that kind of situation though, right? I was making the choice for me. So I had moved on and I had grown, and I just didn't feel that we were good for each other as friends anymore. And that's pretty much as simple as that gets. So I think when people cause each other pain and they continue to thrive on that pain, that's not a good thing. And it's probably, I would call it a toxic relationship. Yeah, a downward spiral relationship. And thankfully one of us like pulled the string. What's that string when you jump out of a plane with a parachute and you pull ripcord? So when you pull the ripcord, I guess, and if the shoe fits, right? If that made me a better person because I knew enough in that moment to pull the ripcord, so be it. But I did not see myself as any higher, spiritual person or anything like that than her. And we all learn and grow at differing rates of speed, something I've said a lot over the years. Since then, I've learned, that it's just like when you're running a marathon, right? I mean, only one person's going to be the winner and everybody else is coming in slower. Maybe they tripped, maybe they, I mean, a million things could have happened, right? So yeah, we're all going to get there. We're all going to finish because we're all going to cross over at some point. But we're all learning this at a different rate of speed, at a different time. I might get it today. You might get it tomorrow. Someone else might not get it for 10 years, 20, 30. but we'll get there. I have hope. I believe we will. I believe we'll get there. And I believe, we can have some grace and humility, and we can apologize at some point down the road if we want to, but I don't think that's always necessary either. I think it's more important to forgive ourselves. And most of us are really bad at that. We're really bad at self-care. We're really bad at just saying thank you right here. I'm so glad that I have this blood flowing in my body, spiraling through my veins and arteries, by the way. And I'm so glad I have the heart that I have, because, well, I think I was always a kind child. I think I've really come more full circle to embrace that thing about myself. So yeah, I want to shine instead of burn others. So what's above and below? I mentioned that too. Spirit. It's all spirit. In fact, oh yes, I wanted to draw something this time. So I have my little whiteboard here. And I believe I talked about this in our first session together. So when you're drawing the spiral, I don't know how much of this you can see, but in Taoism, when I learned from my Lama, my master Qigong teacher, Lama Nicholas Packard, he said in the beginning there was the void, right? And even the major religions teach this, that before anything else was created, there was this void. He's like, but how do you put matter into the void? Because the void is the void, right? So he said that the Taoists believe that it all starts with this dot. There's the little dot right in the middle there. So if that's the universe and that's the void, well, before there's universe, there's the void, there's the dot. Well, what's the dot? He said, it's spirit. Okay. I say the dot is right in the middle, the beginning of the spiral. Okay. So here's the thing. This in the dot is still this. It's still the spiral. It's just tighter. There's no space in there. There's no space, no light, no air, no breathing room. It's just wound super, super tight. The tightest little knot of hair or ball of twine that you can imagine. That's what that is. So what three things do you associate with whatever is above you? Do you think the dot's above you, in you? What three things do you associate with whatever is below you? Maybe this is going downward, right? And the dot is below you. Do you hold any intentions to become more spiritual? Maybe we see this as climbing up and out, and that will become more and more spiritual, more enlightened, more empowered. The less body we have, the lighter being we are, maybe, and the body is the matter, is the density, the heaviness. Do you see religion as a crutch or a guide, important only until you've reached spiritual maturity or mastery? And how do you define spirit? I'm sort of thinking now spirit is, but he thought the dot was the spirit. I'm thinking it's more and more of the space in between, but it's the mystery, right? And my thoughts about that change every day and with every meditation that I do. So how do you define spirit, and what three methods could inspire you to connect with spirit? I hope this course is inspiring you to connect more with spirit. So here's another lesson for today. And then we're probably getting to about the time to wrap things up for this week. All is well. There is this stream. Kidding. I picked that up from Esther Hicks. Love her. That's an Abraham Hicks story. You can be, do, and have anything. Anything. But life is slipping by even as you read this. Maybe when we can't sleep at night, it's because our soul knows life is shorter than we consciously want to admit or acknowledge. So we've got to get stuff done. Back to the busy, right? We want a perfect body, as the song says. We want a perfect soul. But honestly, in reality, no one is perfect. And no one knows it all. I always tend to capitalize all the letters in all. And it's hilarious that my first husband's name was Alan. One of my dearest, best mentor friends, spiritual advisor, is Alania. Has the A-L right in the name, you know. My life coach and energy medicine doctor, teacher who I worked with and assisted several years ago now, her name is Allison. So again, I'm noticing this about, I notice in the past things that are going to continue to help me grow into the future, grow my soul, right? So there's the Alan, there's the Alania, there's the Allison, and I know there's more, but I find that really interesting to think about these major players in my life story, and they have all right in their name. My middle name is Ann too. That's pretty close to and. So it's like it never ends, right? It's just all and. Oh, I want it all, right? And the funny things that make me laugh, the things I notice. All right, so we've got to get stuff done. We want to be perfect. No one is perfect and no one knows it all. This gives me space in that spiral, gives me that space in my day when I do screw up, mess up, misstep, whatever you want to call it, whatever label you give that. It gives me that opportunity to take it easy on myself, give myself grace. So everyone really is beautiful in their own way. I had a yoga teacher. He's still teaching yoga. I'm just not attending anymore, but I loved his yoga classes. Dr. Porter, he would always say, I don't know how many times during the yoga class when somebody was in their posture, they didn't have to be in the perfect posture, but they were trying, they were working on getting it right. And he would say, beautiful, beautiful. And I picked it up from him. And it's the little things in life like that most people don't even think about. A lot of times they'll say something and someone will hear it and they'll catch it and they'll get it and then they'll use it. They'll pick it up and take that with them for the rest of their life. And they'll usually always remember who they learned it from too. I know in my life, I found that to be true. So he would just always say, beautiful. That was his answer. And I thought, how beautiful is that? Because he's being the change he wishes to see in the world. He wants to see a beautiful world. So he picks any little thing that he can, even someone's not so perfect yoga posture. And remember, I said there's no such thing as perfection. So he would just call it beautiful. And I thought that was beautiful. So life is a mystery, and perhaps that's what keeps us coming back, because we never get it done. Put your hands together when you pray. There's energy in that. You'll feel a heat in that, a heat between your hands. So it's real. It's unseen, but it's real. Molecules are vibrating. Breathe. Remember the inflow and the outflow. It will all be okay. X's and O's for hugs and kisses. These images, by the way, were taken over at Glastonbury, England. So this is the well that we went to, and right beside the well, you can see in the lower picture the spiral. Whether that was from a rock or a seashell, or someone engraved something and then added it, to when the well was put in. But there is a whole story about the well, and you can read that on my blog. If you go to sheilamurray.net and you do the search space at the top of the page and put in the words England, or put in Scotland, or put in Ireland, because you'll get, I have 3 blogs for each country, and they're very long and they're full of pictures, and they all have links to the others. So if you find the England one and you look for the story about the well first, and then you go to, you'll find a link there near the end of that article that'll take you to the Scotland page, and then to the Ireland page. You'll see that it was our Sacred Celtic Journey of 2019, where a lot of this, I know, came into me as a download. I didn't call it that at the time, but when we visited Newgrange in Ireland, that's where I saw the triple spiral engraved in the stones, megalithic, Neolithic, ancient stone. That's where I put my hand on the stones and felt the energy. And that was the birthing process for all of this. Some of this, yes, I had picked up throughout the course of living, throughout my life, but I didn't even think to put it in a course or to codify it as a practice that I could do every single day. Next week, I'll show you the physical movement, the physical flow or prayer or practice, again, whatever you want to call it. I do a bit of yoga in that. I do Dana Eden energy medicine. I do Qigong. I work those movements into a daily practice or prayer that I do, and it honors the elements that we've talked about, the time, the breathing, and the seasons, because depending upon the season and the temperature, that changes things too. And I'm always integrating new things that I learn into that, because it helps me to remember the thing that I was curious about or found interesting and wanted to embrace and be able to either write about or research or read about every day. And it may be 5 minutes, or it may be an hour out of my day where I'm integrating something new. It's also at this point that I would like to remind you that the first couple of weeks here in this course, we talked about whether if we owned a lot of things, if we bought a lot of previously purchased programs, meditation programs, or any kind of well-being or wellness programs, self-help books, any of that we would put them all in a box, right? Well, now I would invite you to go through that box, and I have another blog post that shows pictures of this. But what you can do is, if you have, let's say you have 20 books or 30 books or CD, DVD programs, packages, anything that's in a package. If it's on your computer, it'll work. You can do this process too. But again, you're wanting to lay it out in a spiral. So what you'll do is very simply, if anything, when you, let's say you dump that out, that tote or box or bin, those 20 books or 30 books or DVD, packages, put them on your bed or a place on the floor or a dining room table, whatever you have, whatever space you have available. Dump them out, put them in a pile in the middle. And that's going to be representative of the dot. Okay, that's your dot. There's no space between it. It's all bound up. It's all feeling tight. Then one at a time, as you pick up each item, what I would like for you to do, or invite you to do between today and next Sunday, is to pick each one of those up, Sit with it for a moment, breathe. You can do EFT, whatever your method is. Think about them. Ask yourself, ask your higher being, ask spirit, is this something of value to me right now at this time? If it is, you can put it aside. If it isn't, you put it back in the bin or the tote or the box. So that's the first choice. Does it have value for me right now? Is it for my soul's growth, for my highest and best self? Again, you want to keep that aside. Put the others that's a no back in the bin or tote, right? So do that with each thing. Let's say the example is 20 books. So pick up the book. Is this of value to me? Yes, put it aside. No, back in the bin. Next book, same process. Next book, same process. Maybe it'll take you 10 minutes, maybe it'll take you an hour. Work through everything in that box or bin. Now the next step is the ones that you put aside that you want to incorporate and you want to integrate right now. Like, give yourself a time frame, say within the next week, within the next month, within the year. What you decide, this is your process. We'll make it simple right now. We'll just say a month, but you can choose any time you want, any time frame. So now you'll pick the most important one out of all of those and just keep it kind of beside of you. And then the one that's least important, again, for you right now, and this could change as you start incorporating them in and integrating them back into your daily routine. These are things you want to do every day. You may work with it 5 minutes or an hour or whatever. Again, that's up to you. But think about, you want to do this every day. So the one that means the most to you, you keep beside of you, right beside of you, closest to your body, closest you can get. And the one that means the least, but is still very important because it's not in the box, right? You put that the furthest away from you. And what you're going to end up doing is you're going to end up with a spiral, because you're going to have the one that's furthest away will be here, and the one closest to you will be here, and all the other ones will spiral. And you can literally place them in a spiral pattern. I've done it. I have pictures of that. I used 3.5 by 5 note cards and did that when I was writing a book. And also when I was putting this course together, and I did the spiral pattern, and I just used the spiral as a means to be able to physically see everything that I had. Everything that I had in a book's box, CD package, whatever. I did it on the bed. And I could physically stand up and look at everything laid out on the bed and go, okay. And then a few more things I went ahead and put back in the box because it was overwhelming. The spiral was too big, and I doubted that I could get to everything. But I ended up with, say, 12 books for the year that I decided to read, and that if I were to incorporate those and integrate those and read from one of those each day till each book was done, then my promise to myself was to either put the book away as a reference, to keep as a reference book, or to give it away. And I have, and I give them to different people. I either give them to friends, or I put them in one of those boxes on the street that you walk by that has room for a book. Put that in there, the giving library or sharing library, whatever they're called, or even the community library like we have here at our community that we live at. So even your public library will take books too. You can just give your books to them. But this just keeps the energy flowing. It's really an energetic pattern to the spiral, and it's so that you can always witness and see your own path and how much you're growing and expanding, or not. Maybe you only have 3 things. You have a meditation program, you have a brain tap like I have now. It's called an awakened mind powered by brain tap. I have this device, and every night I use it. I put it on and I do a meditation before I go to sleep, and I can also do it during the day to give myself a little more rest and energy too. So that's what it looks like. Again, I'm not here to sell anything. This is a tool that I use, and I do promote it because it's been a game changer for me in the last couple of weeks since I incorporated that in. I also bought 3 new books in the last couple of weeks, and I'm implementing those in. I'm integrating those into my spiral pattern and into my day-to-day. 2 of the authors of the 3 books I bought know each other, and they're blogger friends of mine. We support each other. So I'm very appreciative and thankful for them in my life, and I wanted to buy their books and support them, as well as to read more from them and their words, because I've followed them for quite some time, and I do appreciate the writing that they do on their respective blogs. So I invite you to have fun with this course, as well as creating your own personal practice. You can do this physically, as I'll show you next week, or again, on your bed or on the floor with all these previous products that you bought, things that maybe you bought and didn't have time to use, you didn't have time to read about them or utilize them, or even just incorporate them into daily practice. Maybe you have fascia blasting tools or something like that, that you bought them, you read Ashley Black's book, but you didn't adapt it to your life, right? You just couldn't figure out how to fit it in. Well, take a couple of those tools. These are physical manipulation tools that help your body release tension in your fascia and improve your blood flow and stimulate stem cells and collagen and all that, right? But if you have that, or the gua sha, that you use on your face, or say a facial cleansing unit or something like that, anything, it can be anything that you bought that you want to incorporate into your routine, but you just couldn't figure out how to do it. Put it on the bed, put it in the spiral pattern, see what is of value to you right now. And I believe that you'll find it very intriguing what comes out of that. And of course, you'll keep it. You'll have things in your box and your tote, and you'll incorporate those things later. There's more time in the future, creator willing. And there's my timer. Much love. I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.